always thought the Grand Canyon was all sunlit rocks and breathtaking views. But my recent camping trip changed everything. One evening, as shadows crept over the canyon, I felt an unsettling stillness around me, like the land was watching, waiting. My friends and I set up camp near a trailhead, miles from any other soul. That first night a strange sound echoed, a whisper, carried by the breeze, yet chillingly close. Curiosity, mixed with a bit of fear, had me glancing over my shoulder more than once. As night deepened, the faint whispers grew into murmurs, layered and overlapping, as if voices were trapped between the canyon walls. My friends shrugged it off, calling it the wind. But I knew that sound. It had a weight, a presence. That night I barely slept, feeling a silent call from deep within the canyon's darkness. The next morning I convinced my friends to hike down a little-used trail. Curiosity gnawed at me. I needed to know if there was a source for those whispers. As we descended, the path narrowed, and the walls felt close, almost pressing. We reached a bend, and I found strange markings on the canyon wall, symbols carved deeply, worn by time. They looked ancient, not like anything tourists or hikers would leave behind. My friends joked, but I felt uneasy. As we moved further, the temperature dropped. It was subtle at first, just a slight chill, but soon we were shivering. My friend Alex laughed nervously, but I could see the worry in his eyes. None of us knew why it was getting colder. Suddenly, we heard footsteps echoing from behind. We stopped, turning to see if another group was following us. No one was there, yet the footsteps continued, trailing us closely. Panic began to set in, and I suggested heading back. But the canyon seemed different now, like it had twisted somehow. The path we had taken wasn't there anymore. We were trapped, surrounded by silence and shadows. As we scrambled to find our way, we stumbled upon a narrow crevice. Carved into the rock beside it were more of those strange symbols. My skin prickled as I noticed they formed a spiral, pulling us inward. Against my better judgment, we squeezed through the crevice, emerging into a hidden chamber. The walls were covered in handprints, hundreds, all pointing downward. My heart raced as I realized these weren't recent. Then, a faint humming filled the space, low and rhythmic. It seemed to come from beneath us, vibrating through the stone floor. My friend muttered, asking if we should leave, but none of us could look away. Alex tried calling out as if a response would make sense of it all, but his voice was swallowed by the stone. No echo, no response. Just that unending hum, growing louder. We decided to head back to camp, but as we turned, I felt a tug on my backpack, like someone or something was holding me back. I jerked forward, but the weight persisted, pulling me toward the depths of the canyon. My friends tried to grab me, but I stumbled, slipping into a small, narrow crack that seemed to widen just enough to swallow me. My screams echoed, blending with that haunting hum. I landed hard in a pitch-dark chamber. I couldn't see my friends or any way out. The air was thick, silent. For a moment, I was alone with my pounding heartbeat. I fumbled for my flashlight, illuminating a room filled with bones, stacked carefully along the walls. Each pile held fragments of clothing, tools, things left behind from different times, different lives. My stomach twisted as I realized these weren't animal bones. Panic surged, and I banged against the walls, calling out, hoping my friends could hear me above the hum. Then, the humming stopped. Silence fell, heavy and complete. In the dark, I heard whispers again, closer this time, more distinct. The words were foreign, but the tone, menacing, angry, was unmistakable. Just when I thought I was done for, I saw a faint light. My friends had found me, pulling me back to the narrow crack. But the whispers followed, growing louder, as if something ancient and angry had woken up. Back at camp, we packed up in silence, haunted by what we'd seen. The once beautiful canyon now seemed like a place of death, each shadow hiding something sinister. None of us spoke about the chamber, the bones, or the whispers. We just wanted to get out, as far away as possible. But every now and then, in the quiet, I can still hear that hum, a reminder of something waiting, deep within the canyon. I left the Grand Canyon changed, haunted by secrets buried in stone. I still wake in the dead of night hearing those trapped voices, feeling the weight of that place. It's as if I brought part of it back with me, something that refuses to let go. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I feel a presence like the canyon's eyes, still watching, still waiting. I'd always dreamed of seeing the Grand Canyon under starlight, so when my friends invited me on a night hike, I couldn't resist. The quiet beauty was overwhelming, but as we descended into the canyon, something felt off. The shadows seemed darker, thicker, as if they hid something just out of sight. Then, somewhere along the trail, I started to hear it. A soft, almost pleading whisper, drifting through the air. I paused, straining to make out the words, but it was too faint. My friends walked on, oblivious to the sound that echoed around me, urging me to follow. I brushed it off as the wind, but deep down, I felt a chill creeping in. As we moved deeper into the canyon, the whispers grew louder, more distinct, as if something unseen was drawing us closer, leading us further into the dark. Determined to prove myself brave, I followed the group as we ventured deeper. The trail was narrow, and the darkness felt thick, almost tangible, pressing down on us. I caught a glimpse of a shadow, quick and darting just beyond the flashlight's reach. My heart skipped a beat, but when I looked again, there was nothing there. The whispers returned, closer this time, wrapping around me like tendrils. I could swear they were saying my name, yet no one else seemed to notice. My friend Lisa nudged me, her face pale. She had heard it too. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, and I nodded, feeling that creeping dread settle in. The canyon walls loomed closer as we descended. Each step echoed back, layered with those mysterious whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Suddenly we stumbled upon an ancient campsite, hidden within an alcove. Scattered belongings lay untouched, as if someone had left in a hurry or never left at all. I picked up an old canteen, its metal chilled, and a shiver ran down my spine. The whispers intensified, almost pleading, as if warning us to leave. Lisa gasped, pointing to faint symbols etched into the rocks. They resembled figures with hollow eyes, watching us with silent judgment. None of us dared speak. Just then, a cold wind swept through, carrying with it a scent of decay. I felt an invisible pull, drawing me toward a dark crevice in the canyon wall. My friends hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I crept closer to the crevice, where the whispers became almost deafening, a chorus of overlapping voices. I peered inside, and my blood ran cold. Faint outlines of skeletal figures filled the narrow space, some still clutching tools and gear, forever frozen in place. The whispers grew frantic, desperate. I backed away, but I could feel a presence pressing in, watching, waiting for us to make a wrong move. Lisa tugged at my arm, urging me to leave. But as we turned, the trail behind us seemed to vanish, leaving only jagged rocks and an endless expanse of darkness. Panic set in as we realized we were lost, surrounded by unseen watchers. The whispers had shifted, now sounding almost amused, mocking us. We huddled together, desperately trying to retrace our steps, but the canyon seemed alive, twisting and turning, leading us deeper into its depths. Just as all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of moonlight appeared ahead. We rushed toward it, the whispers fading as we climbed, but the sense of dread lingered, refusing to let go. Back at the rim we collapsed, exhausted and haunted by what we'd seen. The canyon, so majestic by day, now felt like a trap, hiding ancient secrets that were never meant to be disturbed. As we left, I felt eyes on me, as if something had followed us out, a reminder of the voices that had called from the abyss. Even now I can still hear them, faint and far away, as if the canyon's whispers had seeped into my mind, leaving an indelible mark. I left a piece of myself in those shadows, and sometimes, in the dead of night, I feel the canyon calling me back, a voice from the darkness, waiting for my return. The Grand Canyon had always felt like a place of wonder, but on that trip it became something else. My friends and I decided to camp at a secluded spot near the edge, a place with no tourists, no noise, just endless silence. As dusk settled, I noticed shadows moving along the cliff walls, shifting with the fading light. I shrugged it off, but something inside warned me this night wouldn't be like the others. The deeper the darkness grew, the heavier the air seemed. Then, out of nowhere, I felt it, a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like unseen eyes watching from the depths below. I turned to my friends, but they were oblivious, laughing around the fire. And that's when I saw it, a flicker of movement just beyond the edge of the cliff, slipping in and out of sight. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was there, lurking just beyond our fire's glow. The night was deathly silent, and the shadows felt strangely alive. I tried to focus on the conversation, but my attention kept drifting toward the canyon's edge. The darkness was so thick it seemed to swallow everything. My friend Mike noticed my unease and chuckled, calling me paranoid. But just as he spoke, we all heard it, a faint scraping sound echoing from the canyon below. We froze, straining to hear. The scraping turned into scratching, like something clawing its way up the cliff. My heart pounded as the sound grew louder, closer. I leaned over the edge, peering into the darkness, but there was nothing. Just that relentless scratching, as if something was trying to reach us. My friend Sarah whispered that we should go back to the tent, but something in me refused to leave. I felt compelled, drawn to that sound like it was calling my name. Then, as suddenly as it had started, the scratching stopped. The silence was overwhelming, pressing down on us, and I realized we weren't alone. From the corner of my eye, I saw a glint. Two pale, reflective eyes staring at us from the shadows, unblinking and filled with an unnatural intelligence. My friends noticed too, their faces pale with fear. We couldn't move, paralyzed by those eyes watching us, studying us as if deciding our fate. Just as quickly as they appeared, the eyes vanished, melting into the darkness. But the air felt thick, like something was still there, lurking unseen. We whispered in frantic confusion, but none of us dared to speak above a murmur. That's when we noticed the ground around us covered in strange markings, as if something had been circling our camp. The shapes looked like claw marks, dragging patterns that twisted and spiraled, leading back to the canyon's edge. My stomach churned with dread. Sarah tried to wipe the marks away, but they reappeared almost like they were burned into the rock. The eyes returned, closer now, watching from within the shadows. I felt a cold hand brush against my shoulder, though no one was there. My friends bolted, grabbing their things, and I forced myself to follow. As we stumbled back to our tents, the eyes followed, flickering in and out of view, relentless like they belonged to the canyon itself. We stayed awake till dawn, terrified to sleep, knowing those eyes were watching, waiting, just beyond the circle of our flashlights. When dawn finally came, we packed in silence, barely speaking as we left the canyon. Those eyes haunted me, as if they'd seen something deep within me. Even now, I can't shake the feeling that they're still out there, waiting, lurking in the shadows. The Grand Canyon was meant to be a place of beauty, but now it feels cursed. Every time I close my eyes, I see them, those pale, unblinking eyes, staring from the abyss. And somehow I know that one day they'll be waiting, calling me back, ready to finish what they started.